Today, we're diving into a real geological mystery. We're heading to the coast of Colombia, where scientists uncovered a silent, massive threat that was hiding in plain sight for hundreds of years.
It's a pretty chilling thought, isn't it? We usually think of danger zones as places that are always rumbling, always shaking. But what if that's wrong? This story is all about how some of the most beautiful, serene landscapes are actually the ones hiding the biggest secrets, just slowly, silently building up pressure for a really, really big one.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off on the gorgeous northern coast of Colombia. You probably picture stunning beaches, vibrant culture, not exactly a hotbed for seismic threats. But deep underground, geologists knew something just didn't add up.
And this map right here shows you that exact contrast. I mean, look at it. On the surface, you've got this beautiful, calm landscape. But underneath it all, two of Earth's massive tectonic plates are locked in this super slow-motion collision, squeezing that coastline with a force that's just hard to imagine.
And scientists could actually measure that squeeze. They found a compressive strain rate of about 65 nanostrain per year. Now, I know, that sounds like a crazy small number, right? But in the world of geology, that's a huge deal. It's a ton of pressure building up in the Earth's crust. It's really like a giant vise is slowly, relentlessly tightening, year after year after year.
And that was the big mystery. The data was screaming that there was immense strain, but the history books, totally quiet. I mean, other places in the world with this much strain are constantly getting hit with massive earthquakes. But not here. There were no records of anything like that. So the ground was being squeezed, but it wasn't shaking. And the question was, where is all that energy going?
To crack this puzzle, scientists knew they couldn't just look at old records. Nope, they needed a new kind of tool, one that could actually listen to the slow, silent language of the planet itself.
And this is the hero of our story. It's a high-precision GPS station from Colombia's GeoRed network. Now, let's be clear, this is nothing like the GPS in your car. This is an incredibly sensitive scientific instrument, and it's bolted directly to the bedrock to pick up the absolute slightest of movements.
Yeah, their only job is to track the ground's position with millimeter-level accuracy. So over years and years, they build this incredibly detailed picture of how the whole continent is deforming, how it's stretching and compressing. It's literally like putting a stethoscope to the planet's crust and just listening to its slow, steady heartbeat.
So, what did they hear? Well, when the scientists started crunching years of data from this GPS network, they found something that completely blew up the geological map of the region.
It turns out the data just didn't make any sense with the old tectonic maps. The way the ground is moving showed that a huge chunk of the crust was moving totally independently from the rest of the continent. They had just discovered a brand new, previously unknown microplate. They named it the Macondo Block. And just like that, the whole picture changed. They weren't looking at a simple two-plate system anymore. This was way more complex.
And this quote from the research paper, I mean, it just nails it. This wasn't some tiny correction. This was a complete rewrite of the region's geology. Finding the Macondo Block was the absolute key that was about to unlock the entire mystery.
Okay, so now they're armed with this brand new map and all this super precise GPS data. The scientists could finally start building a case, like geological detectives, for what was really happening deep underground.
And it all comes down to this idea called interplate coupling. Now, that sounds fancy, but you can just think of it as tectonic stickiness. When two plates meet, they can either slide past each other pretty smoothly, that's low coupling, or they can get stuck, really snagged on each other. That's high coupling. And that's where you get a massive, massive buildup of stress.
So what the scientists did was basically play this high-stakes what-if game with supercomputers. They created these models and said, okay, what if there's a huge, locked, super sticky zone just offshore? Then they could calculate how the ground should be moving in that scenario. That's what you see with the black arrows. And then they compared that to what the GPS stations were actually seeing on the ground, the blue arrows. And the result? It was a perfect match.
The models pretty much confirmed their worst fears. The reason the ground was being squeezed but wasn't shaking was because the plates weren't slipping at all, not even a little. They were completely, totally locked together, just building up strain for one single, massive event.
And the conclusion they reached was just stunning. The locked part of that fault is accumulating enough stress to unleash a magnitude 8.0 earthquake. And just to put that into perspective, that is a truly catastrophic event. We're talking widespread destruction and the very real possibility of a major tsunami.
So the obvious question is, why has nobody ever seen an earthquake like this here? Well, because the models estimate that the time between these quakes is about 600 years, 6 centuries. The stress builds for 600 years before it finally lets go. That's so long that it completely predates any written history in that region. The threat was hiding in plain sight, on a timescale just way too long for human memory.
And this is the reason it takes so long. The Caribbean plate is sliding under that newly found Macondo block at a crawl, just 7 millimeters per year. You know how fast that is? That's about the speed your fingernails grow. And because that motion is so incredibly slow, it just takes a ridiculously long time to build up enough tension for a great earthquake. And this right here is the critical lesson. Slow does not mean safe. In geology, slow can just mean that the hazard is playing out on a timescale that is way, way longer than a human lifetime. And that makes it dangerously easy to underestimate or even ignore completely. So what do we take away from this incredible piece of geological detective work? Well, the implications of this go way beyond the coast of Colombia.
First, it proves, without a doubt, that a quiet history is no guarantee of future safety. Second, it just slams home how vital these modern tools like high-precision GPS are. They're like our early warning system for these threats that build up over centuries. And finally, it's a wake-up call that we have to get better at understanding and preparing for these slow hazards all over the world, because millions of people might be living on faults that are just holding their breath. This research in Colombia has literally rewritten a chapter in the story of our dynamic planet. And it leaves all of us with a really humbling and crucial question. As our scientific tools get more and more sensitive, what other giant silent threats are still out there, just waiting for us to find them?